My cracked phone screen lit up on the coffee table, and right under it, a toddler screamed like somebody was killing him, and I stayed quiet because my voice would have shaken. I remember staring at that spiderweb glass and thinking, why does a sound that small feel like a warning siren, and why am I the only one hearing it? My name is Colette. I am 27, and I work the front desk at a dental office, the kind where people complain about waiting 5 minutes and act like it ruined their whole day. That night, I drove across Tulsa with my heater barely working, my fingers numb on the steering wheel, and a pit in my stomach that would not settle. My sister Waverly had been dodging my calls since dinner, not texting back, not answering, just leaving me staring at my own messages like I was talking to a wall. Waverly always did that. Disappear when things got messy. Reappear when she needed help. She loved me in her own way, but her love was the kind that came with a price tag and a deadline. Her son, Archer, was 3. He had bright eyes and a grin that could melt people who did not know what happened behind closed doors. In public, he was the cutest little thing in the grocery store cart. At home, he was a little body living inside a storm. I parked behind her building because she had gotten another warning about her car. The lot smelled like wet trash and cheap cigarettes, and I could hear music somewhere, bass thumping like a heartbeat. Her place was on the 2nd floor. When I climbed the stairs, my shoes stuck slightly to each step, like the whole complex was coated in old spilled soda. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder, trying to keep my panic from turning into anger. Then I heard it. Archer. Not crying, screaming, that raw, throat-shredding sound that makes your brain picture the worst thing before you can stop it. I tried the handle. Unlocked. My hand went cold around the knob, and for one breath I just stood there, listening because a part of me wanted to pretend I was not about to see what I already knew I would see. Inside, the living room was lit by the television. Bright cartoons flashing at full volume. A tablet on the floor played a different video at the same time. Tinny and loud, like chaos had a soundtrack. Empty cups, takeout bags. A bottle tipped on its side on the counter. The air had that sour smell of old alcohol and dirty laundry. Waverly was on the couch, mouth open, mascara smudged under one eye, one arm hanging off the cushion like she had been dropped there. She did not look peaceful. She looked abandoned. Archer was in a playpen near the hallway. He was standing up, gripping the mesh, his face red and wet. His diaper sagged, heavy, and his little legs were rubbed raw. When he screamed, he looked straight at me, like he recognized me as the only thing in the room that could change what was happening. My heart did something ugly in my chest. A tight twist. A hot wave of rage that had nowhere to go because it had nowhere safe to land. Hey baby, I whispered, because the sound of my own voice suddenly felt dangerous. Hey, I'm here. I lifted him out and his skin was hot. Not fever hot, neglect hot. The kind that comes from sitting too long in your own mess. When I carried him into the bathroom and turned on the light, I saw the rash. Angry red, broken in places, a little blood. He flinched when I touched him, not because I hurt him, but because he expected hurt. That was the moment something in me broke so quietly I almost missed it, like a thread snapping. I washed him in the sink with warm water. My hands trembling, my teeth clenched so hard my jaw ached. He calmed down when the water hit his skin, but he kept watching my face, like he was checking if I was real. You're okay, I told him. You're okay. I got you. When I lifted his shirt to dry him, I saw faint bruises on his side. Finger-shaped almost. Not dark, not fresh, but there. My stomach flipped. I wanted to march back into the living room and shake Waverly awake. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to do something loud and dramatic so I could feel like I was fixing it, but I did not, because loud never worked on my sister. Loud only made her cry, apologize, promise, and then do it again. So I stayed quiet. I moved like a nurse, not a sister. Clean, efficient, controlled. I found clean pajamas in a basket that smelled like mildew. I changed him, put ointment on the rash, and held him for a long minute in the dim hallway while his breathing slowed. He leaned his head against my shoulder like he was exhausted from surviving his own house. Then I carried him to his room. His room was the saddest part. It looked like a child lived there, but it also looked like nobody was really trying. A little bed with cartoon sheets, a pile of toys shoved into a corner, a dirty bottle on the dresser, clothes on the floor that looked like they had been stepped on. The window was cracked open even though it was cold, and the curtain moved with the breeze like the room was breathing. I laid him down, tucked the blanket up, and he grabbed my finger with both hands. Don't go, he whispered, 2 words, small and hoarse. My throat burned. I'm not going far. I walked back out, each step heavier than the last. In the living room, Waverly shifted and groaned. I stood over her and watched her sleep for a second, and that anger returned, but it was colder now, more focused. Waverly, I said louder. Wake up. She blinked like she did not know where she was. Her eyes tried to focus. Then she sat up fast, saw me, and panic flashed across her face. Oh my God, Colette, she said. What are you doing here? Your kid was screaming, I replied. My voice was calm, and that calm scared me. You were not answering. She rubbed her face, looked around at the mess, and immediately started crying like her body knew the script. I'm trying, she said, voice cracking. I'm so tired. I don't get help. Nobody understands. I stared at her, and a memory hit me so sharp I almost flinched. Waverly at 16, crying in our mom's kitchen after getting caught skipping school. Waverly at 20, crying in my car after another boyfriend left. Always crying, always the victim, always wrapped in excuses like a blanket. I cleaned him up, I said. He had a rash. He was bleeding. Her face twisted. He's sensitive. It happens fast. I fell asleep. You were drunk, I said softly. She froze just for a second, then turned it into a sob. I had a couple drinks. I'm not on drugs, Colette. Don't look at me like that. I'm not some monster. I felt my hands curl into fists at my sides. I forced them open. I'm not calling you a monster, I said, but you are not safe right now. Her eyes lifted, wet and furious. So what, you're going to take him? You think you can do better? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say I could do better with my eyes closed. Instead, I said, I think he needs you awake. That set her off in a quiet way, like a kettle just beginning to whistle. You have no idea what it's like, she hissed. yes. You go to your little job, you come home, you sleep. I don't sleep. I never sleep. He cries and cries and I'm alone. You think I want this? You think I want to be like this? I looked at her and the worst part was I believed her. I believed she loved Archer. I believed she was drowning. But love does not keep a child clean. Love does not make someone stop drinking. Love does not magically create responsibility. I stayed until sunrise. Not because I trusted her, because I did not trust her. I watched her drink water, swallow painkillers, and promise me she would do better. I watched her pick up toys with shaking hands like she was performing recovery. I made coffee, fed Archer oatmeal, and listened to cartoons because it was easier than listening to my own thoughts. When the sun came through the blinds, making stripes across the dirty floor, Waverly sat at the table and whispered, "Please don't tell anyone. If Mom finds out, she'll call me a bad mother." I stared at my sister's hands, nails chipped, fingers stained with something sticky, and I thought, "You are not scared of being a bad mother. You are scared of being seen." "I'm not trying to ruin you," I said, and the words tasted like something I did not deserve to say. She reached across the table and grabbed my wrist. "You're the only one I have," she whispered. "Promise you won't turn on me." My pulse thudded in my ears. I looked at her and I could not promise what she wanted, so I promised something smaller. "I'm here," I said. Later, I left for work with the smell of her apartment still in my hair. I drove with the windows down even though it was cold, trying to blow the guilt off me like smoke. At a gas station near the highway, I parked in the corner, away from the pumps, and stared at my hands on the steering wheel. They were shaking. I opened my phone. The cracked screen caught the morning light, and for a second I saw my reflection in it warped and split. I looked like someone I did not recognize. I told myself I would wait. One more chance. One more serious talk. One more warning. Then I pictured Archer in that playpen. The bleeding rash, the bruises that looked like fingers, his small voice saying, "Don't go." And I realized I had been giving Waverly one more chance for years. My thumb hovered over the call button. My heart pounded like it was trying to talk me out of it. I called the number I had searched in the middle of the night but refused to tap. A woman answered, professional and calm. I gave my name. I gave the address. I heard my own voice come out steady, almost detached, like I was reading a script. But inside, I was shaking so hard my legs felt weak. I started listing what I had seen. Drinking, passing out, a toddler left in a dirty diaper, a rash that had broken open, bruises, screaming late at night, the way the apartment looked, the way my sister promised and nothing changed. The woman asked questions. I answered them. And then she asked, "Are you a relative?" My throat tightened. "Yes," I said. There was a pause that felt heavy. "Thank you for calling," she said gently. "I know this is difficult." I ended the call and sat there with my hands on the wheel, staring at the steering wheel logo like it could give me a verdict. My stomach churned. I did not feel like a hero. I felt like a traitor. I felt like I had pushed the first domino and now I would have to watch what fell. My phone buzzed. A text from Waverly. "You good? You mad at me?" I stared at it until my eyes burned. I typed back, "I'm fine, just tired." At work, while I smiled at patients and scheduled cleanings, my mind kept replaying Archer's scream. It was like it had carved a groove in my brain. Every time the phone rang at the front desk, my heart jumped, convinced it was going to be the call that changed everything. And then, right when I started to think maybe nothing would happen, my sister sent me a voice message 2 weeks later, her words spilling out fast, shaking, panicked. "They came," she said. "They came to my door. They asked about Archer. They looked at my fridge. They looked in his room. Colette, I swear to God, somebody is trying to destroy me." I stood in the supply closet at my job, holding the phone to my ear, surrounded by the smell of latex gloves and disinfectant, and my legs went weak. "Who came?" I asked, even though I already knew. "Child Services," she whispered, like saying it out loud made it more real. "They said someone reported me. Someone said I'm neglecting him. Someone said I drink. Someone said he has bruises." I closed my eyes. Waverly's voice cracked. "Who would do that? Who would do that to me?" I pressed my hand to my mouth, and I stayed quiet because if I spoke, I was not sure what would come out. Quick real-life pause. When I'm editing these late at night, I get tired, and your comments are what keep me going. Hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city, state, or country. All right, now let me take you back. Waverly kept talking, pacing, spiraling. "It has to be Gavin," she said, naming her ex like it was obvious. "He's bitter. He wants to punish me. Or maybe that old lady downstairs, the one who stares." I knew she hated me. I swallowed hard. "What did they say?" I asked. "They said random visits," she replied. "Classes. They said if I don't cooperate, they can take him. They can take my baby, Colette." Her crying turned sharp, angry. "If I find out who did it, I swear they're dead to me. Dead." I leaned my forehead against the shelf, feeling the cold metal through my hair. A box of toothbrushes pressed into my shoulder blade. My heart was pounding so loud I thought someone might hear it through the door. "Family doesn't do that," she said suddenly, her voice turning quiet in a way that scared me more than the yelling. "Family doesn't call strangers on you. Only snakes do that." My mouth went dry. I pictured Archer hugging my leg. I pictured Waverly's face when she looked at me and believed I was on her side. I pictured my own reflection in that cracked phone screen. I forced my voice to stay even. "I'm sorry," I said. That's awful." She sniffed hard. "Promise me something," she said. My chest tightened. "What? If you hear anything," she whispered. "If anyone says a name, if you find out who it was, you tell me, promise." My stomach dropped like I had missed a step. And then before I could answer, she added, "Because I'm not stupid, Colette. Whoever did this knows details. They know stuff nobody would know unless they've been in my house." The closet suddenly felt too small. The air felt thin. My hands went cold. Outside the door, a coworker laughed about something. Normal life, normal sounds. Meanwhile, my sister's suspicion was sharpening into something dangerous. And I realized I was standing closer to the edge than I had admitted to myself. I swallowed, and in the silence before I spoke, my phone buzzed again. A new text. From a number I did not recognize. It was one sentence. "Stop covering for her or the next call won't be anonymous." My skin went cold and my thumb hovered over the screen like it did not belong to me. I stared at that message until the letters blurred, then sharpened again, like my eyes were trying to decipher decide whether to believe it. The number had no name attached, just an area code that could have been anywhere. My first thought was Gavin. My second thought was that it was someone who had been inside Waverly's apartment. Stop covering for her. The word covering made my stomach flip because it meant they were watching me, or at least guessing at me. I typed, "Who is this?" 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. No response. My hand started shaking, not the dramatic kind you see in movies, the small humiliating kind you try to hide. I shoved my phone into my scrub pocket, opened the closet door, and stepped back into my job like I was not carrying a secret that could crack my family in half. The rest of that day felt like walking with a full cup of water, trying not to spill. Every smile I gave a patient, every cheerful, "Have a great day." Every time the front door chimed and my heart jumped. After work, I sat in my car for a long time before driving. I did not want to go home. Home meant quiet, and quiet meant thinking. So I drove to a grocery store parking lot and watched people load bags into trunks like their lives were normal. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail? Waverly? I did not play it right away. I could not. My chest felt tight like there was a band around my ribs. When I finally tapped it, her voice poured into the car fast and sharp. "Colette, I need you to come over right now. They gave me this paper. It says classes and home visits. I cannot do this alone. I swear to God, if I find out who did this, I will ruin them. I will ruin them the way they are ruining me." The message ended with her breathing hard, like she had been crying and yelling at the same time. My hands clenched around the steering wheel. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Not because I did not care about Archer, but because being near Waverly while she hunted for a villain felt like holding a match over gasoline. But Archer's face flashed in my mind. The raw rash, the bruises, the tiny voice. So I drove. When I arrived, Waverly yanked the door open before I knocked. Her hair was piled on her head like she had grabbed it in frustration. Her eyes were swollen. Her apartment smelled cleaner than before, like she had been scrubbing in a panic. Archer was on the floor with blocks, quiet for once. He looked up, saw me, and his shoulders dropped, like my presence made the air safer. Waverly held a stack of papers in one hand and her phone in the other. She shoved the papers at me so hard they bent. "Read it," she said. I did. It was exactly what she said. Classes, follow-ups, surprise visits. A list of requirements written in cold, formal language. Waverly paced behind me, barefoot on the living room rug. "They asked about bruises," she said. "They asked about my drinking. They asked if I leave him alone." Colette, who would know that? Who would know any of that? My throat tightened. "Maybe the neighbor heard him screaming," I said carefully. "No," she snapped. "No, this is personal. This is someone who hates me." She leaned against the counter and suddenly her voice changed. Softer, more dangerous. "You don't think it was you, right?" she asked like it was a joke. I felt my face go hot. "What?" "I mean," she said, forcing a laugh that did not reach her eyes. "You've been judging me forever. You're so perfect. Teeth and clean floors and normal. Maybe you finally Archer's rash looked calmer, still red but not bleeding. He hugged my legs and smiled, and I felt that horrible split inside me again. Pride and shame living in the same space. Waverly poured me a soda. I haven't had a drink, she announced like she expected applause. I'm done. Cold turkey, see? I can do it. I nodded. Good. She leaned closer. I called Gavin, she whispered. I told him if I find out it was him, he'll never see Archer again. He swore it wasn't. He sounded scared. I kept my face neutral. Maybe it wasn't him. Waverly's eyes narrowed. You're defending him. I'm not, I said. I'm saying we don't know. She stared, then shook her head like she was clearing it. I'm losing my mind, she muttered. I keep thinking about it. Who knows those details? Who has been in here? My mouth went dry. Lots of people could, I said. Neighbors, maintenance, anybody who hears him. She looked at me for a long second, then smiled suddenly, bright and fake. You know what's crazy? She said softly. What? I realized something, she said, voice gentle like she was stroking a cat before grabbing it. The caller knew about the bruises, but I never told anyone about those. My heart stopped. I forced a breath. You told me, I said. She tilted her head. Did I? I held her gaze and felt sweat prickle at the back of my neck. My voice came out steady, but my hands were cold. Yes, I said. You said he's clumsy. You said he falls. Waverly's eyes searched my face like she was trying to find cracks. Then Archer toddled over with his stuffed dog and shoved it into my lap. Hold, he said. I took the toy and the moment broke. Waverly looked away, rubbing her arms like she was suddenly chilly. I hate this, she whispered. I hate feeling like everyone is against me. Something in me hardened, quietly. Not anger this time, resolve. If someone was texting me, trying to push me, trying to make me slip, then they were not just worried about Archer. They were playing a game, and if they were playing a game, I could play smarter. That night, after Waverly went to the bathroom, her phone lit up on the counter. A message preview flashed. It was from Holland. Heard people came again. You okay? Waverly snatched the phone up so fast she nearly dropped it. Her eyes went wide, then sharp. She looked at me like she had found blood on someone's hands. She's checking on me, Waverly whispered. I kept my voice calm. That doesn't mean she did it. Waverly's lips parted. She looked like she wanted to believe me, like she wanted to be saved from her own paranoia. But then she lifted her chin. Or it means she's rubbing it in, she said. I said, okay, and I meant it in a way she did not understand. Because while Waverly was hunting for an enemy, I was thinking about the unknown number, about the way they wrote, about the way they seemed to know things, about the way they wanted me scared. I drove home and opened my laptop. I searched the number. No name, no results. So I did the next quiet thing. I logged into my phone account, pulled up call logs, and looked for anything odd. There it was. A blocked number had called Waverly the day before the first visit. Only once. Less than a minute. Then, 2 nights later, that same blocked number had called me. The same night I got the first text. My chest tightened. My mind started building a shape around the shadow. I took screenshots. I saved them. I labeled them with dates written out in words. Then my phone buzzed again. A new text from the unknown number. You're not the only one who called. I stared at that new message until my eyes went dry. Then I did something I had been avoiding since the gas station. I stopped thinking like a sister. I started thinking like someone who had to keep a child alive. I opened my notes again and added the new line in full words with the time written out. I saved the screenshot. I backed it up to my email. I took a breath that hurt because it felt like inhaling guilt. You're not the only one who called. If that was true, it meant 2 things could be true at once. I could have made the call that changed everything, and someone else could have been watching Waverly longer than I was. It also meant someone wanted me to feel less special, less powerful, less certain, like they were saying, you think you're the hero, but you're not. That is what bothered me. Not the idea of another caller, the tone, the little shove behind the words. I did not respond. Instead, the next morning, I called the caseworker number on the paperwork Waverly showed me. My hands shook the whole time, but my voice stayed calm. I told the woman I was family support. I asked what Waverly needed to do to stay compliant. I wrote every requirement down like I was studying for a test that would decide whether Archer got to keep breathing in peace. The caseworker did not tell me who reported. She did not have to. Her tone said it all. Multiple concerns. Ongoing. I thanked her and hung up, then sat on my couch with my phone in my lap like it weighed 100 pounds. Waverly texted me later that day. They want parenting classes and proof of sobriety. Like I'm a criminal. I typed back, do it anyway. She replied with a sad face, then almost immediately followed with another message. I had a drink last night, but I poured it out. I didn't even finish it. That counts, right? My jaw tightened so hard my teeth hurt. I did not lecture her. Lectures made her slippery. They made her perform. So I wrote, get rid of all alcohol in the apartment. Today. She left me on red. That evening, I drove over unannounced. I told myself I was checking on Archer, but I also wanted to see Waverly's eyes when she lied. I wanted to see what the truth looked like on her face. When she opened the door, her smile was too fast, too practiced. Hey, she said, bright like we were normal. Like the last 2 weeks had not turned her life inside out. I stepped in, sniffed the air, and caught it immediately. Mouthwash. Heavy, minty, desperate. She followed my gaze, then lifted her chin. I'm fine, she said. Archer ran to me and wrapped his arms around my legs. His hair smelled like baby shampoo instead of stale sweat. His cheeks looked fuller, cleaner. I hated that my chest warmed at the sight, because it proved the system was working. In the kitchen, Waverly talked too much. How hard the caseworker was. How judgmental people were. How she was being targeted. I kept my voice soft. You said Holland texted you. Waverly rolled her eyes. She's fake. She's acting concerned. Show me, I said. Waverly hesitated. It was small. A blink too long. A micro pause. Then she shoved her phone at me. The conversation was there, like she said. Holland asking if she was okay. Waverly replying with a cold, short answer. Holland offering to bring diapers. Waverly refusing. And then I saw something that made my stomach drop. A message from Waverly. From 2 nights before the first CPS visit, that read like a threat. You better stop listening at my door, or you'll regret it. I looked up. You sent this? Waverly's face tightened. She was spying on me. So you threatened her? I said. It's not a threat, she snapped. It's a warning. I handed her phone back slowly. I could feel pieces clicking into place, and I did not like what they formed. If Holland had been listening through the floor, she probably heard Archer screaming. If she got threatened afterward, she might have felt justified, angry, protective, both. That could be a second call. But it still did not explain the unknown number texting me like it knew my thoughts. Waverly started talking again, louder, insisting she was the victim, insisting she was being hunted, insisting she was doing her best. I nodded, made the right sympathetic sounds, and kept my eyes on Archer as he sat on the rug lining up toy cars with serious focus. Then, without thinking, I asked the question I should have asked earlier. Where's your old phone? I said. Waverly blinked. What? The one you had before you upgraded, I said, keeping my voice casual. The cracked one. Her lips pressed together. Why? I shrugged like it did not matter. Just curious. Waverly's eyes flicked to the hallway, then back to me. I don't know, she said quickly. I lost it. That was lie number one, because Waverly never lost anything that could be used again. She hoarded things the way she hoarded excuses. I nodded and let it go, because my revenge was not going to be loud. It was going to be surgical. When Waverly went to the bathroom, I walked into the kitchen like I was grabbing water. I opened the junk drawer. Receipts, lighters, old keys, a tangled charger, and there, underneath a stack of coupons, was a prepaid phone package wrapper, not opened like trash, folded carefully, kept. My skin prickled. My heart started pounding in that slow, heavy way that meant I was close to something ugly. I closed the drawer gently and returned to the living room. That night at home, I did not sleep. I sat at my table with my laptop open and my screenshots pulled up. I compared times. I compared call logs. I compared the way the unknown number wrote. Short sentences, no emojis, no slang, clean punctuation. It read like someone trying to sound like a stranger. Then I remembered something that made my stomach clench. Waverly used to text like that when she was trying to sound serious, when she was trying to intimidate someone without looking emotional. I scrolled back through old messages from her from years ago. The ones from when she was angry at mom. The ones from when she threatened Gavin. The ones from when she was trying to control a situation. Same rhythm, same sharp little pauses, same habit of ending with a period like it was a door being shut. My hands went numb. I stared at the screen until the letters looked like ants. If Waverly was the unknown number, then she was not warning me. She was testing me, or controlling me, or both. I wanted to throw up, because that meant the person I had been lying to, the person I had been comforting, might have been lying back with a mask so clean I did not see it. But I did not accuse her. Accusations were fireworks. They looked powerful for a second, then left you in smoke and regret. Instead, I set a trap that could only work if I stayed calm. The next day, I drove to a thrift store and bought a cheap notebook and a pack of bright stickers meant for school supplies. I made it look like a parenting progress journal. I wrote simple headings, meals, sleep, diapers, baths, no alcohol. I filled in a few pages so it looked real. Then I went to Waverly's place and gave it to her like a gift. This might help, I said gently, if they ask for proof. Waverly's eyes lit up, grateful and suspicious at the same time. You're really doing this with me, she said, voice soft. I am, I replied. She hugged me too tightly like she was squeezing reassurance out of my ribs. Thank you, she whispered. You're the only one who hasn't turned on me. I held her for a second and my stomach twisted because I did turn on her, and now I needed to know if she was turning on me. I left and waited in my car down the street until her lights went off. The whole time, my phone sat in my lap like a live wire. At almost midnight, the unknown number texted again. You're helping her write her lies. My breath caught. I stared at that line until my eyes watered. It was too perfect, too accurate, too immediate. And then like a gift, it happened. A second text followed, almost instantly, like the sender could not stop themselves. Don't forget who she is. She'll drag you down too. I did not respond. I took a screenshot. Then I did the quietest, meanest thing I have ever done in my life. I forwarded those screenshots to Waverly, not with an accusation. Just one sentence. This number has been texting me since the visit started. I watched the typing bubbles appear and disappear for a long time. Finally, she called. Her voice was high, shaking, furious. Who is this? She demanded. What the hell is that? I don't know. I lied. And the lie tasted different now. Cold, clean, necessary. Waverly started crying. Not the soft, helpless crying. The angry kind that makes people reckless. They're trying to turn you against me, she said. They're trying to poison you. You believe them? No, I said softly. But I think we should show your caseworker. It proves someone is harassing the family. Silence. Then Waverly inhaled sharply. No, she said. No, don't. That will make it worse. I kept my voice gentle. It could help. I said no. She snapped. Drop it. And there it was. If a stranger was doing this, she would want protection. If Waverly was doing this, she would want it buried. My hands stopped shaking. My mind got very still. I said okay. Then I did not drop it. The next morning, I called the caseworker and asked if I could provide information about harassment related to the case. I did not say Waverly's name. I did not say my name. I asked hypothetically, like I was cautious. The caseworker told me to email anything relevant and said harassment could be documented. So I emailed the screenshots with a short note. Family, member receiving anonymous intimidation messages related to ongoing case. Attached. Then I waited. A week passed. Waverly kept performing. Cleaner apartment. Sober talk. The journal on the counter. Archer looking steadier, sleeping better, hugging me more. And then the caseworker scheduled a home visit at a time Waverly did not expect. I came over early and sat with Archer in his room while Waverly paced. When the caseworker arrived, she walked through calmly, took notes, asked routine questions. Waverly smiled too wide, answered too fast, kept glancing at me like I was her anchor. Then the caseworker said, we also need to discuss the harassment messages. Waverly's smile froze. Her eyes slid toward me. I stayed quiet. I looked down at Archer's toys like I was not the one who lit the fuse. The caseworker held up a printed sheet. These, she said, her tone neutral. Do you recognize this number? Waverly's throat bobbed. No, she said too quickly. The caseworker nodded. We ran it through our system, she said. It's linked to a prepaid line purchased locally sulkily. Waverly's hands clenched. So? The caseworker's eyes stayed on her. "We also have a record," she said, "of this number calling your phone the night before our first visit." Waverly's face went white. The room went silent except for Archer humming to himself on the floor. Waverly laughed, a thin, broken sound. "That doesn't mean anything," she said. The caseworker looked at her, then said something that made my stomach drop in a different way. "We need honesty," she said, "because false reporting and intimidation can become a criminal issue." Waverly's eyes snapped to me, wide and wet, and in that instant, I saw it. Not confusion. Recognition. Like she had known all along I was capable of betrayal, and she had been testing the leash to see if I would stay. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her lip trembled, and then she did something I never expected. She told the truth. "It was me," she whispered. "I did it." The caseworker's expression did not change. "Why?" Waverly's voice cracked. "Because I was terrified," she said. "I knew someone called. I knew it. I could feel it. And I thought if I could find out who, I could control it. I could stop it." My chest tightened. My eyes burned. Waverly looked at me, and for a moment she was not angry. She was small, broken, desperate. "I didn't know it was you," she whispered, almost too quiet to hear, but I knew it was someone close. I knew it. My throat closed. I could not speak. The caseworker finished her notes, gave Waverly instructions, and left with the same calm face she arrived with. When the door shut, the apartment felt too quiet. Waverly turned to me slowly. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady now. "Did you do it?" she asked. I wanted to lie. The lie was muscle memory now. The lie was survival. But Archer walked up and grabbed my hand with both of his, trusting me completely, like I was the floor under his feet. So I told the truth. "Yes," I said. One word, no drama. Waverly's face crumpled. "How could you?" she whispered. I held Archer's hand tighter. "Because you were going to lose him either way," I said, my voice quiet. "I just chose the way that gave him a chance." Waverly sank onto the couch like her bones gave up. She covered her face and sobbed, and I stood there shaking, feeling like the worst sister alive and the only adult in the room at the same time. The next months were not a miracle. They were work. Waverly went to classes. She did sober checks. She learned routines. She apologized without turning it into theater. Our mother helped more. I helped too, but differently. Less rescuing. More boundaries. And when the caseworker offered a voluntary guardianship plan during the compliance period, Waverly signed it with a hand that trembled, not from rage, but from surrender. She looked at me afterward and said, "I hate you for what you did." I nodded. "I know." Then she added quieter, "But I'm still here." Archer moved into my apartment for a while. His tantrums softened. His sleep got deeper. He stopped flinching when I reached for him. One night, he climbed into my lap with his stuffed dog and fell asleep against my chest like it was the safest place in the world. I stared at the ceiling and let the guilt roll through me, because guilt was the price of the choice I made. A year later, Waverly hugged Archer goodbye after a supervised visit, kissed his forehead, and said, "Be good, okay?" He waved, then turned and ran back to me, and my heart squeezed. Waverly watched us, eyes glossy, and she did not accuse me anymore. She did not call me a snake. She did not talk about betrayal like it was a weapon. She just said, "Thank you for not letting me kill him with love." I did not answer because I did not trust my voice. On the way home, I stopped at that same gas station from the beginning and sat in my car with the engine off. I opened my phone and looked at the old screenshots I still kept, the evidence of how close we came to losing everything. Then I deleted the unknown number thread, one message at a time until the screen was clean. And in the quiet, I realized the final twist was not that my sister never suspected me. It was that she did, and she still signed the papers anyway.